This is the new MG HS, which is MG's answer to the likes of a Nissan Qashqai, a Kia Sportage, an Opel Grandland, and even newcomers like the BYD Seal U. This is the second generation of the HS, and it's also a plug-in hybrid only for the Irish market. It's got a very impressive EV-only range, and it's fair to say it's never looked better. So let's take a closer look. This is well priced, though it doesn't massively undercut its rivals. So it goes on sale from just under €41,000 for the Excite. And if you want the exclusive model like this one, that's just under €44,000. And I think you will, because it's got a really nice spec, all the equipment features that you could need. And just look at it, what a great looking car. This is massively improved because the previous version was quite generic and just not memorable at all. But this is an MG moves fast. They've got a new design direction and they are going forth with that. And this looks really good. LED headlamps, and you can see that similarity with the smaller ZS as well. So really like the look of this. 19-inch diamond cut alloy wheels come as standard on both models, and there's some little trim elements like this black here. There's no camera in this, which you might think like a Tesla Model 3, but that's not the case. The camera's actually here. There's some more black trim there along the lower side of the car, and a running board on this model, which I don't think is a great addition. It looks a little bit shabby, but it is a nice car. You've got rear privacy glass, a little bit of chrome as well, making it a bit more glam. And back here, this is where you charge the car. So a 24.7 kilowatt hour battery. It's a sizable battery. And the EV range is up to 120 kilometres. That's claimed. Now, the previous version was only 52 kilometres, so that was a massive improvement. Now, there's no fast charging with this, but I don't really think you need it in a car like this. So if you're charging at home from your 7.4 kilowatt wall box, it'll take about 4 hours to get that 120 kilometres. So not bad at all, MG. It's much grander from this angle, very elegant with this light bar across the rear. A bit like the MG4 really, so you start to see that design DNA coming through so that they have that cohesiveness between all the different models. But what about boot space? Because sometimes in a plug-in hybrid that's not so good. But you won't be disappointed with this because it's 507 litres, which is a really good size. It's got depth as well and a teeny bit of underfloor storage. You can also let down the rear seats 60-40. So compared to something like the BYD Seal U, which is also a plug-in hybrid SUV, this is much bigger volume. Now, if you compare it to the likes of, let's say, new Opel Grandland, the full electric one, that's 550 litres, but this is certainly not a disappointment at all. And you get that power to tailgate on the exclusive model. Those doors open nice and wide, which is great for a family car. And one seated here, very impressive. So this sits on a longer wheelbase, loads of legroom. That seat is set for me, but even that seat is let back a bit and there's loads there. Headroom, I have about that much extra. And that hump in the middle is not too big. There's still a flat place there for the middle seat passenger to put their feet. You also get an armrest here with cup holders, but there's no through loading, though the seats do split fold 60-40. Isofix on the two outer seats, pockets in the back of those seats. There's vents. There's two USB ports. They're USB-A, not USB-C. And you've got big door bins. So altogether, it's not bad at all back here. The cabin is a big improvement on what came before in the HS. It's got a good enough fit and finish for the price. Now, you do have hard plastics in some places, but it's well disguised as well. There's lots of gloss black, and this being the exclusive, it comes with these very nice leather style seats. There's a bit of that in the dashboard as well, so that gives it a bit more of a plush feel. But certainly there are harder plastics if you do go looking for them. The tan leather is optional. The standard is black. A few extra €100 for this. So let me know, what do you think of that? I think it could do with being a richer colour, but it's not too bad at all. I like it. It gives it a little bit of variety to the cabin. You've got a nice 3-spoke steering wheel, so it's really modern, like in the MG4, for instance. And also this nice gear selector. It's a proper tactile one as well. There's cup holders, there's a wireless smartphone charger in this exclusive model, and a little bit of space under there as well. Now, these are USB ports. They're USB-A, not USB-C ports down here. So that's just something worth noting. Full digital driver display and the touchscreen here in the centre. The graphics have improved over the years. It is still a little bit unresponsive at times when you're tapping different icons. And one thing I'm not so keen on is that I'm having real problems connecting to Apple CarPlay. So it's not wireless, Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You do have to connect using a cable. Now I'm using this one here through the USB-A port, but it's just not recognising it. Now it could be because it's not a genuine Apple cable, maybe, but something worth noting because the inbuilt nav is not all that good. So I really miss having Apple CarPlay in this at the moment. You do have a few shortcut buttons underneath, so things like your hazard lights, a home button to demist the rear window, which is very handy on these cold winter mornings. But still a lot of reliance on touch control, which you can say about a lot of new cars these days. But you can set shortcuts on the buttons on the steering wheel. So for instance, the star buttons, you can actually customize to a different function. So for example, I have it set to the drive modes, so I get easy access to that. So altogether, it is an improvement in here. There are hard plastics, there are cheaper feeling parts of the cabin, but generally it's very nice, and it is very well equipped, this exclusive model. I think that's the one to have because you get the heated front seats, they have power adjustment, and the driver's seat has lumbar support and also a memory function. There's also a 360 camera. This uses a sizable battery, electric motor and 1.5 litre petrol at its heart. It's got 220 horsepower, 350 newton meters of torque, and 0 to 100 is 6.8 seconds. So it is very swift and powerful to drive. You've also have a few driving modes like normal, comfort and sport mode. And in the sport mode, it really is very lively to drive, and that's great for overtaking manoeuvres or joining motorways. So no problems with power in this car. It's solid and secure to drive. There's certainly weight in the steering, and also it's quite firmly sprung, so it feels nicely tied down on the road. Still not quite as fun and engaging as something like a Ford Kuga, but it's not bad at all. Now in cornering on rural roads, you do feel this lean because it's quite a heavy car, and that firm suspension means that if there's any bumps or ruts in the road surface, you do feel them. Going over ramps will toss you around a little bit as well. It is very good on refinement, so if you're cruising along the motorway, it's very quiet here in the cabin, so that's all good. When it comes to efficiency, it's at its best when you keep that battery charged, because otherwise it does get quite thirsty. So I've no charge left in the battery, and I'm averaging about 7.2 litres per 100 kilometres, and I've driven nearly 400 kilometres with that as well. So I think that's an accurate representation. So it won't be as efficient as something like the Toyota Corolla Cross in those instances. This car's huge benefit is, of course, its big battery. So you've got to make use of that if you want to really run this car very cheaply, because it's a decent range in it. So why wouldn't you use it? So that's all from the cabin of the new MG HS. You can read more over on changinglanes.ie, and I left a link in the description below the video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.